AP News Summary at 9:56 a.m. EDT. Palestinians are struggling to flee south in Gaza after Israel gives an evacuation order. Deir al-Balah. Gaza Strip. AP. Palestinians are struggling to flee from areas of Gaza targeted by the Israeli military ahead of an expected land offensive a week after Hamas' bloody attack into Israel. Residents of the territory were also grappling on Saturday with a growing water crisis after Israel put the region under a total siege and stopped the flow of resources. Israel renewed calls on social media and in leaflets dropped from the air for Gaza residents to move south. Hamas urged people to stay in their homes. The UN and aid groups have said such a rapid exodus of the evacuation area's 1.1 million residents would cause untold human suffering. Blinken calls for protection of civilians as Israel prepares for expected assault on Gaza. Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. AP. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has called for protection of civilians in both the Gaza Strip and Israel as the Israeli military ordered half of the Palestinian territory's population to evacuate in advance of an expected ground assault. Blinken met his Saudi Arabian counterpart in Riyadh as he began a third day of intense Middle East diplomacy aimed at preventing the Israel-Hamas war from expanding into a regional conflict and worsening the humanitarian crisis. Both stressed the importance of minimizing the harm to civilians as Israel prepared for an anticipated incursion against Hamas a week after the militant group's unprecedented attack in Israel. In Israel's call for mass evacuation, Palestinians hear echoes of their original catastrophic exodus. Jerusalem. AP. In Israel's call for the evacuation of half of Gaza, many Palestinians fear a repeat of their mass exodus from what is now Israel. Palestinians refer to it as the Nakba, or catastrophe, during the 1948 war surrounding Israel's creation. An estimated 700,000 Palestinians fled or were expelled from what is now Israel before and during the war. 75 years later, they and their descendants have not been allowed back because their return would render Jews a minority in Israel. Republicans pick Jim Jordan as nominee for House Speaker, putting job within the Trump alleys reach. Washington. AP. Republicans have chosen firebrand Representative Jim Jordan as their new nominee for House Speaker, putting the gavel within reach of the staunch ally of GOP presidential frontrunner Donald Trump. Electing Jordan, a founding member of the Freedom Caucus, to the powerful position second in line to the presidency would move the GOP's far right into a central seat of U.S. power. Jordan, of Ohio, will now try to unite colleagues from the deeply divided House GOP majority ahead of a public vote on the floor, possibly next week. Republicans split 124-81 in Friday's private vote, though a second secret ballot nudged his tally higher. Hunter Biden investigations lead to ethical concerns about President Biden, an AP NORC poll shows. Time equals 400 ms, greater than Washington. AP, ethical concerns are casting a shadow over President Joe Biden as he seeks re-election amid investigations into his son Hunter and a presidential impeachment inquiry. A poll shows that 35% of U.S. adults believe the Democratic president himself has done something illegal. An additional 33% say they think the president behaved unethically, but not illegally. And 30% say Joe Biden did nothing wrong. The results of the survey by the Associated Press NORC Center for Public Affairs Research reflect both a vast political divide and skepticism about the morality of government leaders. A proposed gag order on Trump in his federal election case is putting the judge in a tricky position. Washington. AP. A request from prosecutors for a gag order aimed at reining in Donald Trump's rhetoric is putting the judge overseeing his federal election interference case in a tricky position. U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan must balance the need to protect the integrity of the legal proceedings against the First Amendment rights of a presidential candidate to defend himself in public. It's her biggest test yet in the case, and it underscores the unprecedented complexities of prosecuting the Republican former president as the judge vows not to let political considerations guide her decisions. Chutkan will hear arguments Monday over the proposed gag order. Trump's lawyers say it's a desperate effort at censorship. Sen. Joe Manchin considers independent 2024 run, warns party system could be nation's downfall. Charleston, West Virginia. AP. West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin has benefited from waiting to reveal where he stood as the swing vote in a chamber closely divided between Democrats and Republicans. He's taken the same approach when it comes to the next phase of his political career. The moderate Democrat has teased possible retirement, a run for re-election to the Senate or even a presidential campaign in 2024, possibly as an independent candidate. During a multi-day trip to West Virginia's state capital this week, the 76-year-old expressed growing frustration with the polarized U.S. two-party system. He said unless it changes, the system will be the downfall of our country. New Zealand elects Conservative Christopher Luxon as Premier after 6 years of Liberal rule. Auckland, New Zealand, AP. Conservative former businessman Christopher Luxon will be New Zealand's next Prime Minister after winning a decisive election victory. People voted Saturday for change after 6 years of a Liberal government led for most of that time by Jacinda Ardern. The exact makeup of Luxon's Conservative government is still to be determined as ballots continue to be counted. Prime Minister Chris Hipkins, who spent just 9 months in the top job after taking over from Ardern in January, told supporters late Saturday he had called Luxon to concede, saying he was proud of what we achieved over the last 6 years. Ring of Fire, solar eclipse will cut across the Americas, stretching from Oregon to Brazil. Portland, or AP. A rare ring of fire eclipse of the sun is about to cut across the Americas, from Oregon to Brazil. Unlike during a total solar eclipse, the moon doesn't completely cover the sun during a ring of fire eclipse. When the moon lines up between Earth and the sun, it leaves a bright, blazing border. Saturday's eclipse follows a narrow path from Oregon to Texas and then to parts of Central and South America. Much of the rest of the Western Hemisphere gets a partial eclipse, weather permitting. The halo part of the eclipse will last as much as 5 minutes. Bryce Harper shines as Phillies aim for second straight World Series. Philadelphia, AP. Bryce Harper has the Philadelphia Phillies on the brink of their second straight trip to the World Series. The National League champions host the Arizona Diamondbacks in Game 1 of the NL Championship Series on Monday. Harper hit 3 homers with a .462 batting average in a 4-game NL Division Series win over Atlanta. Harper has 9 postseason home runs in his 2 playoff appearances with the Phillies. Harper gave his team a scare when he clutched his right elbow late in Game 4. The slugging first baseman said he just stung his funny bone and was ready to play in Game 1. He turns 31 on Monday.